Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Vision Quest Astrology, my little astrology corner here in my backyard. And we are back for another awesome astrological video. Today, I wanted to communicate about something kind of near and dear to me at the moment, which is Mercury Retrograde in Gemini. This has been a very profound retrograde passage for Mercury, I feel like, as they always are. Each time I find myself just going in, discovering a lot of insights and gaining clarity on things that may have not made sense before, all the while it happening during this 3-week period where not a whole lot of anything makes sense. So I figured maybe a lot of others are going through this as well and would benefit from it. So, Mercury retrogrades 3 times a year. They give you all the usuals, don't sign contracts, don't make big decisions, don't buy a car, don't go on long travels, this, that, and the other, which I'm not denying that you shouldn't be careful, make sure you're reading for those dotted I's and the crossed T's, and read that finer print, but you cannot live your life in fear just because Mercury is retrograde. Because there's what they call the retrograde shadow zone, and it's in that shadow zone 2 or 3 weeks before it stations retrograde, and then after it stations direct, it's in that shadow zone for 2 to 3 weeks as well. So really, the retrograde passage is not just 3 weeks. That's the main bulk of it, but it's really like a 6-7 week process. So, and that happens 3 times a year. I mean, come on, get real. You can't put off your life all the time because a planet is retrograde. I feel that a lot of people really miss out on a truly beautiful time where your perception is just shifting and going backwards for a little while so that you can, there's a lot of redoing and reevaluation and reviewing because the mind's going backwards for a little bit. We are in a world and society where it's always forward motion and how much can we get done and how fast can we do it, where we don't really take the time to process. Gemini energy and Mercury is all about, perception, consciousness, and in the mind and how it's working and, how we're perceiving things and how we're putting it out in this exchange of communication and energy. It forces us to stop and look at the processing of things. Things are happening so quickly and so fast and so jittery and all the time that we often miss things that were there along the way that actually really can be beneficial and helping us. That's why it aggravates us so much with all the delays and all of the setbacks and all of the things that seems like we have to redo and how we can't spit out of our mouth what we want to say when Mercury's retrograde because we're going through this phase of going to the underworld of Mercury practically, where we are processing all of the filth that our mind gathers, and that is why the retrograde is so important. Just, you take a vacuum, for example, you use a vacuum to get all the crap off of your floor, if you don't empty that vacuum cleaner every so often, it's going to get stuck and clouded and all mucky and it's not going to work how it's supposed to. Our mind is the same way. Our minds are these sponges that take on so much information on a day-to-day basis. We probably have thousands of thoughts that are going in this thing daily, and we do not realize how harsh we are to our minds. You look at the psychology of the mind, and it's really quite fascinating. So, yeah, the retrograde passage allows us that time to slow down long enough to tend to these guys up here that are just on warp speed 24/7. This Mercury retrograde is in Gemini. Gemini is the home sign of Mercury as Mercury rules over it. So this one is a very comfortable passage for Mercury. I feel like the sign of Gemini honestly gets a really bad rap a lot of the time and a lot of misconceptions. And misconception is something that comes along with a Mercury retrograde. We are learning to revalue and re-identify and re-evaluate what is Gemini, what is the mind. We are really going into how we think, what is our thought process, how are we relaying this to other people, how are we perceiving what other people relay to us, how are they perceiving what we relay to them. We have no control over how someone perceives us, and oftentimes we'll get really mad when they don't because it's like, oh, I said this to you this and that way and you didn't get it. Fuck you. But it's not how someone perceives you has a lot more to do with them than it does you a lot of the time. And then there are other times, though, where maybe you weren't as clear as you could have been. And I've noticed so far in this retrograde in the past week and a half, there's been a lot of that going on. There's a lot of, this is a time where we need to be very consumed in truth. Mercury is so fast, so many thoughts, juggling so many things at one time. It's easy to get lost and tell this person this, but then another person, you kind of skew the story a little bit, and things start to get skewed, they start to get misinterpreted, and you've told it so many times, so many different people, that there's different angles, and then people start talking, and they realize that maybe what you've said, they all got a little bit of a different variation of it. This is where Gemini gets that bad rap of, being the liar, being the two-faced, being the manipulator. I don't necessarily see this as true. Gemini is all about duality and is taking on all of these different forms because it's mutable air, it's messaging from here to there and then somewhere else. And it has to be able to do that so that it can comprehend and then translate accordingly, And that's why this passage of Mercury retrograde is so important, so that we can process what it is we're translating. Because oftentimes, we're going so quick, there's so much going on, we just spit it out so fast, or we take forever because we haven't had that time to process and really digest the information. It's kind of like taking out a cake half-baked, and that's really, there's no value and there's no substance. Like, sure, you can say you did it, oh, I baked a cake, but is it really of value? Is it of substance? Is it worth it? Has it really been processed so that this is digestible? Look at the house that Mercury is transiting for you. I think that's really important because Mercury in Gemini retrograde is affecting us all in that way, but the house it shows up in for you is where Mercury is going to show itself. For me, it's been in my 7th house. It's been a wild time, to say the least, dealing with other people. For you, it could be the 12th, it could be the 1st, it could be the 9th, I don't know. It could be any one of them. I would highly advise people, be firm in your truth right now. Be firm in the truth of who you are. Double check what you say and make sure you mean what you say. If you don't mean it, don't say it. If it's not true, don't put it out there, because I can promise you with Mercury retrograding right now, when it goes direct, it's going to hit the same degrees again that it's hitting right now, and those things will come back to you. So be firm in your truth. Be firm in in honesty. We don't always tell lies out of malice or for a malicious reason or to be evil, but just because we're trying to spare someone, spare us, or think we're helping the situation somehow. And I will say right now, this is not the time to do that, because it will come back on all of us. It happens to the best of us. I can attest to it. I'm human like we all are. So yeah, I just be really aware of that and be firm in the truth. That is it, you guys. This Mercury retrograde, we have about another 2.5 weeks left of it, I think. And it's been a really intellectual one, and it's home sign of Gemini, and it's all affecting us in some crazy way or another. Like I said, it really is a time to be valued. Don't be scared of it. Don't hide under your blanket. It's a little more intensified right now because Pluto and Saturn are both retrograde too, so there's a lot of inward motion going on. Retrogrades really kind of turn things inward for you. So just know you are not alone, and there's a lot of great things to be gained from this. So yeah, if anyone is still wanting chart readings, I'm giving them at a very discounted rate. You can email me at the email below in the description box, and I'd be happy. If you're wanting a chart reading just based off of what Mercury is doing to your chart right now, I'd be happy to do Mercury retrograde charts. So yeah, let me know, you guys, and I hope that this was effective for everybody. And happy Mercury retrograding and happy transiting to you all. Aloha.